Okay, live in 3, 2, and 1. Title of the video, something that you should probably take heed of. Why is society beginning to unravel a little bit? Now, that's assuming it is. Now, I might be completely off base in this matter. Maybe the presence of civil unrest, endless global wars, tremendous amounts of inequality, maybe all of this is just a phase. It's entirely possible. But let's go ahead and assume for a minute that there is some sort of great unraveling. Let's go ahead and assume for a minute that there is some sort of collapse or crumbling, a very slow motion collapse, like a crack in a dam and water is slowly beginning to erode its way through. All right. The question is, why? Now, I have a three-pronged theory. It's very much based on peace theory to an extent, but I'm going to present it to you for judgment. I'm going to call it the three-pronged or three-pillared theory that keeps a society upstanding, or anything standing, really. But for the moment, we're going to be talking about Western society in general, Western democratic society. Pretty much anything encompassed by the UN, United States, or Eastern Europe, around there. So here's the real question. What holds it up? Well, that's an interesting question because after all, who wants anyone to be telling them what to do? More or less law keepers. Because civilization is very important, law is very important. But why should I care? Why should you care? I'm about to tell you. So there are three pillars that hold up a society, in my view, according to this theory. First one is the negative peace theory. Effectively, the law and society has to prevent bad things from happening to you. That's the first part that holds it up. It's very important. The law stops people from coming around stealing your stuff, breaking into your house, murdering, what have you. The second thing is that the civilization or society has to provide something for you. Now, what does that mean? It's kind of a quid pro quo type scenario here. I do this, therefore I receive this. A big thing about this is you go to school, you pay your taxes, you live a decent life, and society will in a way reward you, not necessarily with no effort, but will reward you with a stable life, a job, a happy purpose in life, everything of that nature. Effectively, you uphold society, and society gives you dividends. You tend the tree, you take care of the well, it grants you food and water, it sustains you. So not only does it keep you safe, but it gives you what you need to survive for the next day, and so on and so forth. That's the positive peace theory. So we have these two pillars, and normally you would think that would be enough. After all, we are creatures of flesh and blood, but actually there is a third thing because people desire, most of all, purpose. People desire purpose. Now, the question is, does society give you purpose? Yes. Because a part of society is not just the job, it's not just the laws, it's not just the stability. The part of society that's a little bit harder to grasp for most people is the spiritual and philosophical outlet of it. It's the aspect, it's the philosophical, it's the spiritual aspect that not only nourishes the mind, nourishes the spirit, and of course, you have the negative and positive peace theory, keeps you safe and provides you with things that you need to grow and thrive and quite possibly build something of your own. Basically, it's just covering Maslow's needs, which if you don't know what those are, just go ahead and look it up. It's like a 2-minute Google search. Psychology 101 is a joke. Now, first off, let's go ahead and talk about law and order. That is the most basic pillar, and for the most part, the men and women of the United States Police Force have been doing an admirable job of keeping most people safe. Yes, there are issues once or twice with people, but you know what? It's an imperfect system with over 300 million Americans, all with different political views, backgrounds, and you're never going to have a perfect system when it comes to policing humans. If it did, phone me up. I'll take a look at it and just be in shock I'll be proven wrong, and I'll be happy to be proven wrong. Now, the second thing, the positive peace theory. What's going on with that? Well, we have not only a faulty job market, despite what a lot of numbers say. Many people are very unsatisfied with their work. Many people are overqualified for the work that they have. A huge part of that is the degree flooding at the moment, which is absolutely an issue that's honestly doesn't really have too much of a solution. We can't just make a bunch of skilled academic jobs overnight. It's just not going to happen. So unfortunately, that's just something we're going to have to deal with. And we will. I do think that we can overcome it if we have the drive to. Unfortunately, what's going on now is that there's a lot of people that don't feel like they're being provided for, particularly when a lot of the shares are going to so few. Now, me personally, I'm of the idea that if you start a business, you run a business, you have every right to pay your employees as little as possible. But just because you can does not mean that you should. Yes, it's true. You can force people into a corner. That's your right to do so. But at the same time, forcing people into a corner, generally speaking, has negative consequences. And we're beginning to see them right now. The massive inequality that we're seeing, again, because we live in the information age, almost nothing is private. If you own 50 jets, it doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the world. We can see them. Satellite image feed is something that is accessible to even the average person, which in and of itself is a technological marvel. That being said, it makes it look like the second part of peace theory, the positive aspect of society, the thing that's supposed to nourish you, is giving so much to so few and so little to so many that it might as well just not even exist. The perceived unfairness, real or not, is causing people to lose faith in the system. And they're starting to become resentful. The resentment will eventually lead to action, which is not good. Now, me personally, I'm not saying I'm going to be running into the streets with all the other lunatics. Far from it. I am, quite frankly, if I am correct and I am the person, I am one of the many, I'm not the only one. There are quite a few people that have been saying the exact same thing for years, decades even, before I even jumped into this arena. Before I could even form these thoughts, there were people saying exactly what I'm saying. And if that train of thought is correct, then as someone who's observing it, I would rather stay out of it. Enough of my personal stance, though. So that's the first two pillars. First pillar, it's functional, but it's not enough. And there are, of course, many people, again, real or otherwise, that perceive that the police force is not doing everything that it could. You know my opinion on that. But again, perception is reality to the human being, to the individual, and perception of a group is the perception of society. So, we've got the first two pillars that aren't doing so good. What about the third? Oh, the third pillar. Oh, yes. The philosophical aspect of society. You should uphold society because it is the right thing to do, because society is worth preserving. Well, this is very true. Lawlessness is a terrible state of being. Look at Venezuela, look at Somalia, look at any civilized country that has fallen from grace, and you will see the results. The results are not pretty. Regardless of what you say, bringing everyone to equality is horrible, particularly when that equality means that everyone is starving, and everyone is killing each other, and everyone has been brought down to the same low level as everyone else. We should be trying to uplift everybody, not tear each other down. The point of society was to give people hope that if they upheld it, they and future generations would be better off than what the world is now. And I don't see that. And why is that? round-the-clock news, constantly spewing the absolute worst of humanity, putting the absolute worst things on display all the time. And why? To get ratings. Because people watch tragedies. They're fascinated by it. So news stories have been running around-the-clock stories of all the most horrible things. Everybody knows when a school shooting happens, but no one knows when a mass shooting is prevented. Unless you go out of your way because the news doesn't report that. So the perception is that there are shooters abound, but heroes none. Why would anybody uphold a society that produces such a state of affairs? You'd have to be insane to want to. So I don't just blame the media, though. I blame politicians. Politicians also spread doom and gloom because people vote more when they're scared. Because people are easier to manipulate and swallow everything that you tell them if they're panicked, they think there's a threat on the horizon, and you alone know the answer. You alone can stop it. If only they throw you their votes. So you blow certain things out of proportion, you outright lie about other things, and then you tell everybody, oh, but I have the answer. Vote for me. And they do. So a lot of these people get elected. So they spread the idea of doom and gloom. The news media spreads the idea of doom and gloom. Well, that pretty much covers that, but again, that covers external threats. So if you were to believe what politicians tell you, and if you were to believe what the media tells you, what the news tells you, then the outside world is horrible. But what about the inside world? What about that which you're trying to build and protect? Well, what's showcased? Again, let's go back to the politicians and let's go back to the media. What are they talking about? Are they talking about the doctors who pull double shifts, the nurses who pull double shifts every single day trying to keep people alive? No, they don't run stories about that. Do they tell you about the linemen? Do they tell you about the electrical workers that are working almost round the clock to keep the lights on and the internet running? Do they tell you about the sanitation workers that are literally knee-deep in filth in order to keep your streets clean? Does the news talk about that? Do we broadcast that in our movies? Do we broadcast that on our TV shows? Do we broadcast that on current events? All of the titanic effort that it takes to keep people's lives comfortable and livable in such a time. And most people never even consider it. It goes on every single day beneath their notice. They might understand that they're there if they ever stop and think about it, but it's not at the front of your mind because no one talks about it. So what are we talking about? Celebrity gossip. People with all money and fame and power that they could want acting like complete and utter trash. Squandering fortunes, acting like complete and total idiots, and all in front of a camera, all on display. The Learning Channel broadcasting Honey Boo Boo and other such nonsense. That's what's getting broadcast. That's what's getting pushed to the front of everybody's minds because, as I said, people are fascinated by train wrecks. People love watching a dumpster fire because there's something in our brains that looks at someone else who's failing and thinks to themselves, I'd better observe this because I might be there someday and I want to avoid that. And while that is a very important thing to do, if all that's shown to you is people failing, and if all that's shown to you is the greatest and wealthiest among us acting like complete fools, and this is what you're working a 9 to 5 to produce? Not even a 9 to 5. Let's go ahead and say you're working a full 12 or a full 16. Hell, I've known that. I've pulled back-to-back 16-hour shifts. It's hell. And if it wasn't in my mind that, I'm working, I'm doing this, and everything that I do in some small way upholds the civilization that's actually so much better than everything that has come before it, even if it's not perfect, it's better than complete and total destruction. But if that's not at the front of everybody's mind and you're just working away miserably, constantly laboring day after day, dealing with the everyday frustrations of the modern world, all to produce some girl who tricks men into buying her bathwater. That's what you're producing? That's what our civilization is doing? Good God. It's no wonder people give up. Look at modern art. There are people who legitimately mistake garbage, actual human refuse, for modern art. And then there's some modern art that's made out of human refuse. Yes, we have talented artists, but they are not the ones selling their works for $250,000. They're being ignored. They're not being uplifted. They're being ignored. They're being ignored because they don't cause a spectacle. And I'm sure there's other reasons. Some people might even feel inferior pushing them forward, but that's probably less likely. The point is that we are producing so much greatness in this society, and none of it is being showcased. It's only the most vapid, consumeristic, horrible things being pushed to the front and center. And why? Because it's good for business. It's excellent for business. You push people into a pit of despair, and then you tell them, but you know what? If you buy an antidepressant, or if you buy this pair of sneakers, or if you buy this, buy that, you might have just a little bit of happiness that'll get you through the day. Just a little bit of happiness that'll get you through the day. And then what happens when that wears off, because that is an empty, hollow existence, that little dopamine hit gets you through the next 16 hours, go to sleep, look at your bank account, and then you wonder to yourself, where did all my money go? Where did my effort go? And then you're like, oh yeah, I bought all this useless shit. Because somebody told me it would make me happy. And I believed them. That is the third pillar, crumbling. Physical security can only take you so far. A lot of the food that's cheaply available, McDonald's, oh my God, I would not feed McDonald's to my dog. Every now and again, I'll have one. I'll want something off their breakfast menu, but so much, for one of the wealthiest nations, half of the food we put out is damn near inedible, and there are some people that eat that 2 times a day. And it's really terrible for them. And that's what we're producing as a culture? We're letting food literally rot on the vine. We have an obesity epidemic when other countries are starving. We have an obesity epidemic in this country where other parts of the country aren't even getting enough nutrition. We have people living literally in gold-plated mansions that we call celebrities and sports stars. Meanwhile, places like Flint have polluted water that gives children brain damage. Oh, and what happens to the man responsible? He goes off to Europe for a vacation, paid for on the public dime. God bless that. Oh, and that's the last thing that I think I'm going to talk about. I know everybody and their brother beats up the church these days, which is a damn shame, because religion was incredibly important to the fabric of this country. The belief that there's some higher power that's an ultimate good that actually holds everybody together, that gives us all purpose and punishes the wicked and rewards the good, that is a beautiful thing to believe in. And if everyone believes in it, and if everyone acts like it's real, and everybody attempts to make that idea real, then you have a community filled with people committed to the common cause of doing good and improving the world. That is what religion should have been. It's what it was. However brief for a time, but that's what it was. Was it imperfect? Yes. It was filled with a bunch of crap that didn't need to come along with it, because it was written by dozens and dozens of authors over a period of centuries. But the faith held people together. It gave them a sense of purpose. Even if you were at the very bottom of society, you could be someone everyone hated. But you could still commit yourself to doing what little bit of good you could in the world. We gave them, as a society, we gave the people at the very bottom that sort of out. They had a way to give their lives purpose, to do a little bit of good, to commit themselves to a higher purpose. And the guardians of this idea, people of the faith, the men of the cloth, when members of their midst were shown to be embezzlers and pedophiles, they didn't punish them. They protected them. Even at the highest levels. Shame on the church for doing that. Because not only did they hurt those individual children, not only did they deal a blow to justice, but they pulled the linchpin out of that pillar. Because why would you ever give any credence to people like that? The church didn't just destroy itself. It destroyed one of the things that was holding Western society together. The idea of this higher good became laughable, an easy target for critics. Granted, you should never follow something blindly, especially religion. But at the same time, you have to recognize when it's doing something important. You should never tear down a wall if you don't know why it was put up in the first place, because it might be load-bearing. But in this case, the wall came crumbling down by itself. And some other people saw that it was coming down and thought to themselves, it's an ugly wall anyways. Let's go ahead and just knock the whole thing down while we're at it. It wasn't the only thing holding the house up, but it was important. This is kind of wrapping up my whole three-pillared idea of what holds a society up. Positive peace, negative peace, and the higher purpose. In a way, we still have the first one, but the police are outnumbered by the citizenry. Try as they might, if everyone starts losing their mind, there's very little that the police department can do. They've been overwhelmed before, and it's really sad when that happens. A community should support the people that give it law and order. The police have a hard job. They can't. They can't do it without the general approval of the population. If you think the police are some sort of unstoppable titanic force, then you are very wrong. It's something that requires community support. If a community works against it, it's an occupying force. It can't maintain itself. And you know what? If the police ever leave an area, that area will be very sad that they're gone very shortly, as we have seen. So there's the security, the physical security, the negative peace, preventing bad things from happening to you, making positive things happen to you, or allowing for positive things happening to you. We've already established why that's crumbling, because the perception is that you're not getting paid your due. You're not getting paid your due. Everybody else is getting it except for you. So there's the second pillar gone. Third pillar gone. Higher purpose in life. The people peddling that higher purpose in life, why they're all corrupt. Why should you listen to them? And protect the society because it's something good? Please, according to the public perception, the greatest thing our society's been producing the past couple of years have all been internet memes. We forget as a people, as a Western people, that we are producing something great every day, every single day, when people wake up way too early for a job that they don't particularly care for, get paid too little to do it, slog through the day, do the best that they can, or at least a good enough job, and all to maintain this level of civility and comfort. You flip a switch, the lights come on, you turn a knob, the water comes out, You go to the grocery store and there's food on the shelves. People aren't starving. Even people that are homeless, they can find shelters. There are charity events, people giving away their resources to those that have none. We have created something good here. Our ancestors have created something good here. And I know I have to go ahead and throw this one up because someone's going to take that out of context. When I say ancestors, I mean ancestors of every stripe. Everyone living in America has been contributing to this currently. Now, are there some people that make it worse? Yeah, of course. You know, we have serial killers and we have communists and we have other people of that nature. They're exceptions. They're exceptions to the rules. Most people, they just want to live their life. They want to live their life. They want to be fairly compensated. And they just want to be left alone to their own devices. Go out with friends on the weekend. They want to stay inside and watch a show, play a video game, read a book without somebody chopping through their window at night. That's what they want. And we have this within our grasp. And we're being told that it's all rotten and that it all needs to come down. And worst of all, there are people who believe that. So, that is why I think we are seeing a crumbling in our society, a weakening of the social fabric. It might not be a full-blown collapse, might be a slight backslide. Who knows, we might even get better in the next 10 years. I certainly hope so. Because we have something good here. Even if you're down, even if it's not looking so good, it is so much better than in other places. And there's always help. There is always help somewhere. But it's getting harder to reach out for because people are becoming more cynical. They're holding the resources tighter. They're eyeing each other with more suspicion. Walking down the streets at night, it's not always safe. And it's not wild animals doing this, it's other people. Fellow Americans. Or, again, wherever else in the world you live, it's your fellow citizen making the streets unsafe. And I'll admit, I can get angry too. That being said, I try not to contribute to the problem. That's all anyone can do. I encourage everyone else to do the same thing. This has been a bit of an impromptu rant, but what can I say? I'm feeling up to it. This will be the end of this little theory of mine. I wish all of you a good day, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors. You stay safe out there.